Hari Om. Parvati Bhagini, you can start.
हरि ओम ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। हरि
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणम् परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. So up to the 5th shloka of the 14th chapter, we completed in the last class. We saw that Lord Krishna was giving a general introduction, pointing out that the body, mind, sense complex of every individual is influenced by the presence of the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. So there is no exception to this rule, because we saw that during the creation itself, Maya is Trigunatmika, and all the bodies, minds and sense organs originate from the Pancha Bhutani, which themselves originate from the Maya or Prakriti. So therefore the three gunas just flow down from parents to children to, it just continues, because everything is emanated from the Pancha Bhutani, right? So Lord Krishna wants to talk about the different features of these three gunas, so that once we understand the advantage and the disadvantages of the three gunas, we will utilize them appropriately. The disadvantage of the three gunas is that all of them bind a person in the samsara. So sattvam, rajas, tama iti, right? The three gunas, right? We have to be aware of them and what they can do to us, right? Before we have come to Gita class, we are not aware about this. Now that we are aware about this, or at least after the 14th chapter, we are aware about it, we can be more alert and we can direct our own lives towards our goal. So in the 5th shloka, we saw sattvam, rajas, tama iti gunaha prakriti sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. They bind, the three gunas bind a person. They make a person a samsari, and therefore the transcendence of them is compulsory for moksha, for one to get liberation, right? So the plus point is, we have to use these three gunas to transcend them, but finally we should not be bound in the three gunas. A very nice and interesting analogy Swamiji gives, and I thought I must definitely speak about it here. He says it is exactly like the pole vaulter. Okay, the pole vaulter, if you see, he uses the pole and he comes running, right? It for a long period of time he runs in that total, time. The proportion is very large, his running time, right? And then he holds the bar and he comes fast, the pole, right? And then once he crosses the bar at that height, right, what does he do to the pole? He lets go of the pole and then he jumps to the other side. Imagine he doesn't let go of this pole. What would happen to the pole vaulter, right? First of all, he would get hurt. Secondly, he wouldn't be able to cross over the obstacle and reach the winning goal, right? So using the pole is important, and dropping is also very, very important, right? So you cannot drop them first, right, and then jump. That is not possible. So we have to use the gunas and then transcend is a very powerful message from this analogy. We have to intelligently employ the gunas, and for that we have to have very good knowledge about the gunas, and then we use the gunas to transcend and finally become gunatitaha. That is the journey of the spiritual person, right? So Krishna wants to talk about 5 different topics dealing with these three gunas. Don't worry, at appropriate times I will summarize, and I will also show you the pictorial representation or a tabular format of these 5 topics by three gunas. So we will cover them in the next 2 classes. and at the end of it, you will also see the consolidated summary. So I'll keep summarizing as we move forward, right? So from verse 6, he starts, and what are these 5 topics? First, we will see the 5 topics. The first topic is the definition of each guna, or called guna lakshanam, right? Then the second topic is how each guna binds a jiva in its own unique method. The way sattva guna binds is not the same way the rajo guna binds. That is definitely not the same way the tamo guna binds. So the mode of bondage we should know. In Sanskritam, we call it bandhana prakaraha, mode of bondage. Then the third one is the indicatory mark or lingam, right? Through which one can know whether sattva guna is predominant, rajo guna is predominant in oneself, or what is your current status, each one's current status, and how to choose the appropriate sadhana, right? So these are the indicatory marks. In Sanskritam, it is called lingam, right? Just as we say, smoke is the lingam for fire, right? So how do you discern which guna is predominant in me? Because guna is aprathyaksham, you cannot see. And neither can I walk around with, I have rajo guna so much percentage. So it's not possible, because guna is aprathyaksham, or we should say it is indriya agocharam. It cannot be discerned, right? Therefore, it is for each one of us to self-assess for our own type of guna which is predominant in our body-mind complex, right? So we call it sattva adikyam, rajas adikyam, tamas adikyam. Adikyam meaning preponderance or domination, right? So that is the lingam, is the third topic, right? And we will see the 3 different lingas which are associated with sattva, rajas and tamoguna. Then the fourth topic is phalam. What are the consequences of the predominance of each guna? What happens when sattva guna is high? What happens when rajo guna is high? What happens when tamo guna is high, right? So one particular guna will give you material progress as its consequence, but spiritual angle, there will be no progress. In another one, spiritual progress will be dominant, but there is not much of material progress, right? So therefore, we should know which one caters to material prosperity and which one takes care of spiritual growth, so that we can direct our own goals. So this is called phalam. Sattva phalam, rajas phalam and tama phalam. So this is the fourth topic. And the fifth one, right, is what happens after death, the gati, right? At the time of death, if say sattva guna is predominant, what happens to the person? What is the gati that this person takes, right? When I say this person, it is the sukshma and karana shariram, right, which travels. So the travel after death is called gati. Is it sattva gati, right? Or is it rajasi gati, or is it rajo gati, or is it tamo gati, right? So what is the sattva? We would say that each guna will have a different direction or different path of travel. What is that path? We will see as the fifth topic. Okay. So Lord Krishna is going to discuss all these from verse 6 to 18. Krishna himself is more or less organized in the way it has been covered, but we will also keep summarizing, right? So 6 to 18 is Gunatraya Vivekaha. And from 19th alone, Lord Krishna will come to the central theme of the 14th chapter. How can a person transcend the 3 gunas and discover the gunatitaha nature of oneself? That is from 19th. Okay. So now we will enter into this, the 6th verse. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat, tatra sattvam nirmalatvat, prakashakamanāmayam, prakashakamanāmayam, sukhasangena badnāti, sukhasangena badnāti, Jnana Sangena Chanagha. Jnana Sangena Chanagha. So hereafter Krishna is going to take various topics, and each topic he is going to talk about the three gunas. Okay. First he defines each guna, right? So in the previous shloka he said it will nibadhanti, which means it will bind. So first he defines the sattva guna. Sattva guna expresses in the personality, especially in the mental condition. So what is sattvika or mental condition? If sattva guna is dominant, right? When I say sattva, it means the sattva guna is dominant in a person. Anamayam means the mind is free from disturbances, preoccupation, restlessness, or extrovertedness, right? Therefore, the mind is relaxed, calm, comfortable, right? So there are differences between a distressed mind and a de-stressed mind, right? So here we are referring to a de-stressed mind, no stress, right? Generally relaxed and calm. So this is called anamayam, right? So when the mind is undisturbed, unpreoccupied and calm, it is not only comfortable, but the mind is bright enough to receive the knowledge from outside. Isn't this true? We would have experienced this. In this class itself, if you watch your mind, some days you would have had some turbulence in the house or in the office. You might have had some kind of interaction, right? Those days, the way you concentrate, whether the mind is available 60 minutes for the class, right? If you observe, then you will be able to note this difference, right? So when the mind is calm, relaxed, or whenever you have the ability to turn off from the other things and concentrate with a clean and calm and composed mind, that is a sattva guna predominant kind of mind, right? So we call it prakashakam. Prakashakam means bright and receptive. So this is the definition of sattva guna in Sanskritam, prakashatmakam, right? So a mind which is sattvika, we might wonder, how does it bind, right? Even that binds, because it always expects an atmosphere, right? Or an infrastructure or a setup in which the mind can be relatively undisturbed, right? So this person with a sattvic mind would want to read, would want to, the life would be jnanendriya pradana, right? So you don't look for friends, partying, going out, etc. You just enjoy the calm, the quietude. You like to, go to an ashram and spend some time all by yourself, maybe reading something or just contemplating, meditating, etc. Right? So this kind of an infrastructure, the sattvika mind is all the time looking for, right? So this mind is not bothered about people coming, going, etc. Right? But what happens is, if this person with a sattvika predominant mind is placed in a home where, say, the bells are ringing in the outside doorbells are ringing or the phones are ringing all the time, that person can try and remain calm, but still would find it very difficult or agitated when that person is not able to spend time on, say, meditation or in solitude or do something calmly using the jnanendriya, right? So this is also a form of binding. It is not karmendriya pradana, but we must remember that it is jnanendriya pradana, right? So this kind of mind wants to typically, this kind of mind wants to spend time in the research labs, researching more and more, etc. Right? Day and night, they just want to do that. They don't want to be disturbed. Sometimes they hardly even have time for eating, right? So they don't think about what they eat, their mind is always craving for that calmness and that research orientation, right? So, and any amount of knowledge is not enough for them. They'll keep on gathering more and more knowledge, whether it is science or whether it is Vedanta, right? So that is the sattva pradana kind of binding, right? Because if the person is not, is pulled out of such an infrastructure, then that person misses that infrastructure or structure, infrastructure or setup, right? So this is called, if that person does not get that, right, that is called an intellectual samsara. Only the Satvika people will suffer from intellectual samsara. More normal human beings suffer from emotional samsara, right? The children don't, talk to us, or they are behaving differently, etc. That is emotional samsara, right? So the Satvika people suffer from intellectual samsara. So we also have a physical samsara, which is bodily pain, right? So Vedanta is the only solution which simultaneously solves all the three samsaras. Anyway, here we are talking about Sattvika samsara, which is more the intellectual kind. And so Jnana Sangena, the attachment to knowledge is there, and they want to know more and more. Te Chanagha, right? That is their problem. And Lord Krishna gives twofold definition for the Sattva Guna: Nirmalatmakam and Prakashatmakam we saw. Nirmalatmakam means the mind will generally be tranquil, receptive, and free from preoccupation, right? So, and listening skills will be predominant in these person, in these kind of people, and the mind is always alert and vigilant, right? Receptive, calm, profound, deep mind. So this is the Lakshanam, right? Now, when the surrounding is not there, such a person gets agitated, right? Therefore, Krishna says, Sukha Sanghena, attached to calm, right? Friendly research or Vedanta friendly atmosphere, right? So, ashramam like atmosphere, right? Jnana Sangaha, right? So, this is the problem with the Sattva Guna Pradhana people, right? Sukha Sangaha, attachment to comfortable atmosphere. That is also an attachment, right? The moment such an infrastructure is not available, I feel miserable. Now, the next topic that Krishna is going to go is for the corresponding in Rajoguna, what is the Lakshana, right? Continuing. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi, Rajo ragatmakam vidhi, Trishna sanga samudbhavam, Trishna sanga samudbhavam, Tannibadnati kaunteya, Tannibadnati kaunteya, Karma sangena dehinam, Karma sangena dehinam. So here the Lakshanam is, it is Ragatmakam. It's full of passion and dynamism, committed to action. Ragaha means passion, passion for not one thing, but passion for many things in life, interest in many areas or many fields. Whatever you see, you feel like doing, right? So, whatever it be, and because of the deep passion for everything, Trishna Sanga Samudbhavam, it generates Trishna. Trishna means desire for many things. 24 hours is not enough, right? Constantly running between hobbies, between office, between home. If it is children, putting the children through multiple classes so that they are also completely occupied and running, right? Therefore, Lord Krishna here means the desire to do many things, right? And once the mind has taken up, it becomes strongly attached to it and it does not want to give up, even though there is no time, even though the health is deteriorating, right? Very difficult to hand over to somebody else, not even to the next generation in the family, right? We always want to be in charge, passionately holding on to name, fame, power, attachment. You can see lot of companies, lot of business ventures where the older generation stays on and on and on until they are even 90, right? So holding on to this is attachment to that power, etc., comes from the Rajoguna Pradhana, right? Pradhana kind of person. So Trishna Asanga Samudbhavam. Samudbhavam means Karanam. Karanam to for desire and attachment. Desire is before starting the attachment, and attachment is after you get you get hooked on, right? So Rajoguna, how does it bind a person? Tan nibadnadi kaunteya, Arjuna. That Rajoguna binds a person how? Karma sangena, by creating attachment to one project after another. One program or the other, he becomes a workaholic. It's as bad as alcoholism almost. Retirement becomes a dreadful situation because I cannot imagine a day where I have nothing to do. So therefore, after retirement, what happens? The family members are the ones who go through a lot of problem, right? Therefore, they themselves suggest that, okay, you get occupied in something, etc., so that they will get some liberation from this kind of samsara, right? So work is a blessing, but workaholism is a curse, because it's like chakravyuha. I know how to enter the work, but I don't know how to grow out of the work. Many people have this problem, right? So we require Rajoguna for Karma Yoga, but we have to transcend Rajoguna to come to Upasana Yoga and Jnana Yoga. That this person can never do. That means what? He can accomplish many things worldly, but spirituality that person can never come to. A person of high achievement, right? The original purpose of self-knowledge is never fulfilled. Therefore, He Kaunteya, it binds through workaholism. Dehinam Dehi means the Jivatma. It binds. Therefore, what is the definition of Rajoguna? Ragatmakam, and the Bandhana Prakaraha. The type of binding is Karma Sangaha. Right? Now we'll go to Tamoguna next. Tamastvajnanajam viddhi, Tamastvajnanajam viddhi, Mohanam sarvadehinam, Mohanam sarvadehinam, Pramadalasya nidrabihi, Pramadalasya nidrabihi, Tannibadnati bharata, Tannibadnati bharata. Tamaha tu, the tamoguna is ajnanajam, born out of ajnanam or ignorance, or the avarana shakti and vikshepa shakti we call, right? One is the concealing power of Maya, right? And the other is the modifying, or the one that causes modifications, right? So avarana shakti and vikshepa shakti of Maya creates this kind of ignorance, or promotes this kind of ignorance, right? So the ignorance with regards to everything. So whatever I have to know, I don't know because of this concealment, right? Therefore, avaranam takes place, and wherever there is concealment or avaranam, the fact is not known, and there will be a mistake also, right? Therefore, ignorance and error are the consequence of tamaha or ajnanam, and because of the error, what happens? It deludes the intellect. Therefore, mohanam sarva dehinam, right? Mohanam means it's not the raga in Carnatic music. We must remember that. Here, mohanam means delusive. So the conflict, delusion, confusion, misunderstanding, right? That is what is referred to here. And for all the jivas, it expresses, right? So this is the definition of the tamoguna. And so definition of tamoguna is, it is delusion or mohanam, and in three forms. Pramadalasya nidrabihi. Pramada means mental laziness, a mechanical life, not applying the mind in any activity I do, right? Even while reading, I don't pay attention, right? And many people, as Swamiji says, Swamiji is called a very nice example. Swamiji is called Paramarthananda. But many people, after so many years of attending his class, you ask him, who is your guru? They will say, Swami Paramatmananda. Even now, many of you can check, right? Every day, every Sunday, we do this shloka, and I talk about Paramarthananda Yatim. Many people make this mistake and they'll say Paramatmananda, right? So that small difference, right, in the letters, if you're not having that subtle intellect, you can't pick up. So this is typical of a tamoguna predominance, right? So not applying the mind, right? So that is the important aspect that we must note here, right? So in Sanskrit, pramada means negligent or oversight, carelessness, mechanicalness, etc. Alasyam means physical laziness, right? This is a very big problem because body is always assailed by tamoguna, and because the body is made up of tamoguna, if it is predominant, then you will have laziness. Alasyam hi manushyanam sharirato mahan ripuhu. It is said in the Subhashitam. It is the biggest enemy, laziness. Every person is born with this powerful enemy in the body at the time of birth itself. Manushyanam, not for one person, but the entire mankind, right? Sharirataha mahan ripuhu, alasyam, right? So, nasti yudyama tamo bandhuhu kritvayam na avasitati. Therefore, it is said that please get up during sunrise or before sunrise. That is the first step for breaking the tamoguna. Therefore, it is advised do Surya Namaskara or puja, any physical, right, kind of puja in the morning, so that you can break the tamo influence. Alasyam means the indolence of the body. Pramada is at the mental or intellectual level. One is at the body level, one is at the mental level. They are all expressions of tamoguna. And the third one is nidra. Nidra is what? Sleepiness, right? Sleep. So it is said that jocularly, apparently when Kumbhakarna died, Nidra Devi was distressed, right? Because she's the goddess of sleep. And he enjoyed Kumbhakarna, Nidra Devi enjoyed patronage from Kumbhakarna. 6 months he could sleep, right? So Nidra Devi wanted some fresh patrons. Therefore, this is just a joke. She asked Rama, where should I go? And they humorously say, wherever there is upanyasa going on, wherever there is discourse going on, you can go, right? And there will be a few people who will be immersed in nidra. So nidra is another aspect of tamoguna. So if the tamoguna is predominant, then person can sleep in classes, etc. Right? So pramada, alasya, and nidra. Pramada is the mental level alertness. Alasya is laziness, and nidra is sleepiness. Right? So for all of these, a combination. That is why they say good karma yoga, good rituals, physical rituals as well as mental drills will help in overcoming this, right? So otherwise, the moment I sit down for japa or for, I'm only saying japa, meditation, definitely sleep, we'll start sleeping. Even for japa, it will become difficult to concentrate. Sleep will start, impacting us. So the biggest obstacle is, for the spiritual obstacle is this. This is the tamoguna aspect. Tan nibadnanti he Bharata. So let's now look at the chart and see whatever we have done so far, right? The summary here. So we've seen two topics with regard to three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamo lakshanani, and sattva, rajas, tamo, bandhana, prakara, right? So we have seen the lakshanam, then we have seen the bandha prakara, right? So, and then we'll now enter the next topic, right? So we've seen both of these, the lakshanam and the bandhana prakaraha, the definition and the mode of binding, right? So we'll move on to the next topic. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati, sattvam sukhe sanjayati, rajak karmani bharata, rajak karmani bharata, jnanamavritya tuttamaha, jnanamavritya tuttamaha, pramade sanjayatyuta, pramade sanjayatyuta. Oh, could you repeat the Subhashita on laziness? Alasyam hi manushyanam Mahan Ripuhu. If you want, I can post the whole thing along with the slides. I'll do that. Okay. So Krishna feels a concern now, right? Whether the students of Gita are Sattvika, Rajasika or Tamasika, whether they would have registered the message properly, right? When Tamoguna is predominant, the problem is you should give only one message at one time. Suppose you give two messages, right? What will happen? One will get missed. So in the previous 3 shlokas, Krishna has given 2 messages in each shloka. Therefore, Krishna is worried whether they would have registered both or not. Therefore, he is repeating the second message. The second message is what? Bandhana Prakaraha. So even though Krishna has talked about that in the previous verses, he wants to remind how each guna binds a person. Not only because he wants to remind that it is an important topic, right? And because we want to get out of bondage, right? And he wants to make sure that we don't forget this important aspect and that we should get a clear idea. So the shloka is very, very, very easy to follow. You can understand. Satyam Sukhe Sanjayati. Sattva Guna always wants a calm and quiet and spiritually conducive, knowledge friendly, meditation friendly infrastructure. So it is good if it is available, and when it is not available also, we should be able to adjust to the situation, because in life we can't always get this wonderful infrastructure and we can't get perturbed by that, right? So that is the problem. That is where we have to be alert and careful. Otherwise, what will happen when the infrastructure is upset? We will get distressed, right? So therefore, Sukhe Sanjayati, it wants a favorable infrastructure. Sukha Sangha is the Bandhana Prakaraha, right? So the next is Rajat Karmani Bharata. The Rajoguna makes a person workaholic, and keeping this in mind alone, in our tradition, we have 4 ashramas, and in Brahmacharya ashrama, we learn about all the different sadhananis. Grihastha ashrama is Karma Yoga Pradhana ashrama. Maximum period of our life we spend in Grihastha ashrama, right? So, and slowly as we grow older and older, we have to shift towards a Jnana Yoga Pradhana life, right? So therefore, Karma Yoga was emphasized, and then Veda said, wonderful, you must do more and more of this during Grihastha ashrama, right? And then as you age, you go to Vanaprastha ashrama, and you will be mentally and physically ready to do more of Upasana, right? And then gradually Sannyasa ashrama. Therefore, the whole Vedic culture is based on the 3 gunas, and as well as our capacity and also our need of the sadhanas, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Withdrawn life is also important. Pravritti is important, Nivritti is also important. Thus, it is so beautifully designed, and the 4 Purusharthas also gelled very well. Initially, Artha Kama Pradhana life, then gradually Dharma Pradhana, and then Moksha Pradhana. Thus, a holistic lifestyle is the Varnashrama Vyavastha that we actually saw in the very beginning of Introduction to Vedanta, the 2nd session, right? But unfortunately, this has been very badly misunderstood, right? So the glory of Varnashrama Vyavastha is known only when moksha becomes the goal of the human being. Therefore, Rajat Karmani, then Karma Sangaha is caused for Rajas, and Jnanam Avritya tu Tamaha, and Tamoguna. What is the job? Jnana Avaranam, concealment of the Viveka Shakti or the discriminatory power, right? The word Jnanam can be understood as Viveka Shakti here, and Shastra talks about 2 important discriminative powers in the initial stages of life. We have to employ what? Dharma and Adharma discrimination. Dharma, Adharma Viveka in the initial period of our life. Then later it will become Nitya and Anitya Vastu Vivekaha, which we see as a definition in Tattva Bodha, right? So initial stages, Dharma, Adharma, Vivekaha. What is proper, what is improper, right? Even when there is an opportunity for some improper action, I should be able to refuse, right? And follow propriety. So which is called, and in fact, in Brahma Sutra, the first sutra starts with Athato Brahma Jignasa, and then you see Athato Dharma Jignasa in the Jaimini's sutras, the first one, which means Dharma, and you have to follow Dharma, and only then you're even an eligible candidate to read or study any of these scriptures, right? So Athato Dharma Jignasa is what we see in the Veda Purva Bhaga, right? So this is the first stage of life, and the second stage of life we get to Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. What is Nityam? What is Anityam? Jagat, Mithya, Brahman, Satyam, all of those, right? The spiritual study, spiritual knowledge, or gaining jnanam, right? The first step is to understand what is Nityam, what is Anityam, and to be able to discern that and realize that the true Ananda, the nature is only, our own nature, which is Ananda, is available only through the Jnanam, right? So, Satya Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, right? Very important. So, Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha is also the second Viveka that is talked about, and both of these, the Viveka Shakti is clouded by the Avarana Shakti in Tamoguna, right? So that is why we have this prayer, Asatoma Asatgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya, right? From truth may you lead me to truth, from untruth may you lead me to truth, from darkness may you lead me to light, etc. Right? So from mortality to immortality, right? So it is Dharma, Adharma Viveka and Nitya Nitya Viveka, which is talked about, which is clouded by the Tamo Guna, right? So this is the next aspect that we have seen here, which is with respect to Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. It is kind of a summary kind of shloka. Continuing. Rajastamascha Sat Rajastamascha Sattvam Bhavati Bharata Sattvam Bhavati Bharata Rajas Sattvam Tamaschaiva Rajas Sattvam Tamaschaiva Tamas Sattvam Rajastata Tamas Sattvam Rajastata. Now two topics are over, which is definition and mode of bondage. Now before going to the next topic, Lord Krishna takes a small diversion and he is giving a very important message. Okay. The body-mind sense complex or the individual is a product of Prakriti or Maya. And Prakriti is a mixture of the three gunas, right? Therefore, all our personalities are also a mixture of the three gunas, right? And even though all of us have got these three gunas, our personalities will vary depending upon the domination or predominance of the three gunas. Thus, a person can be Sattva Pradhana or Raja Pradhana or Tama Pradhana, and not only all of us have got these dominating gunas, they are fluctuating also. In the early morning, when we have taken good rest and we have taken rest and the mind is fresh, right? Then generally people are Sattvika in the early morning. That's why they talk about spiritual sadhanas, puja, japa, meditation, etc. in the morning. Right? Now, as the day advances, the Sattva Guna gives into Rajo Guna. It is also connected with the Surya Bhagavan. As the sun becomes more and more powerful, the Prana Shakti becomes more and more powerful. Rajo Guna is more, it's more conducive for Rajo Guna activity. And as the sun sets and we have worked hard, then naturally Rajo Guna has become feebler and generally we tend to become Tamo Guna oriented and sleep. So look at the advantage of people who are near the equator and are able to get longer sunlight, right? The prana shakti is what you're able to enjoy because of the longer days, right? And therefore the rajoguna, the energy aspect is much higher, right? That is why they say that people get into depression and all when they are in close to the northern pole, and for 6 months of the year they hardly see sunlight, etc., right? So thus within the day itself the three gunas are going to fluctuate, but still predominantly whichever guna is dominant, that will determine the personality of an individual. Therefore Lord Krishna says Rajaha Tamaha cha Abhibhuya. In a sattvic personality, we have to supply Sattva Guna Pradhana Purushe Rajaha Tamaha cha Abhibhuya. Right? In a sattvic person, Satyam Bhavati Bharata. Right? Sattvam Bhavati Bharata. Hey Arjuna, Sattva Guna Bhavati. Right? How does Sattva Guna dominate? Rajaha Tamaha cha Abhibhuya. Means suppressing Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Sattva Guna stands out in a sattvic person. Suppressing Rajo and Tamo. In the same way, Rajaha Sattvam Tamaschaiva. In the case of a Rajasic person, Rajoguna will dominate his personality by suppressing Sattva Guna and Tamo Guna. You have to add the word Abhibhuya with everything. So in Rajasic it will be Rajaha Udbhavati Tamaschaiva Abhibhuya. Then again in a Tamasic person we have to supply Tamaha Udbhavati Tamoguna. Tamoguna becomes dominant in that person by how Sattvam Rajasaha Abhibhuya, right? By overcoming the other two or overpowering the other two, right? So now based on the domination of the guna, we have to decide the type of sadhana that one has to follow. And as I said, right, if I am a tamasic person, it's completely self-assessment. We don't need to share this with anybody, right? Unless you want to meet a guru and get specific advice, then you have to obviously share, but otherwise this is not required at all. This is self-assessment. Suppose I am a tamasic person, then my chances of moksha are very, very remote, because in a tamasic mind, even material knowledge cannot take place. Then what to talk about the subtlest spiritual knowledge? Therefore, the aim of a tamasic person is first to convert tamoguna into rajoguna by supporting that, right? How do you do that? By actively doing puja, right? Japa, Parayanam, etc. By increasing activity, karma, right? That is why the Veda Purva Bhaga begins with a lot of karma. So a sattvic mind is a very, very rare phenomenon. Generally, people are tamasic or rajasic, right? So tamoguna is an integral part of the shariram itself, right? So a Vaidika Marga Anushtai, a person who is upholding or following the Vaidika Marga, first thing he has to plan is to get up during sunrise or preferably before sunrise. Thereafter, not looking at mobile, computer, etc., but doing physical activity, Surya Namaskara, walk, right? Having a bath, snanam, etc. Those days people used to go to the temple, do pradakshinams, etc., right? So very important role it plays in converting tamoguna to rajoguna. So rituals are extremely important, because to do Shashtanga Namaskara, if you do 4 times, that's good exercise, right? So Surya Namaskara is the best form of exercise, right? So Veda prescribed 2 types of karma, Sakama Karmani and Nishkama Karmani. We saw this. To begin with, at least Sakama Karmani, so that the person's dominance of guna at least will start changing. Gradually, the Tamo Guna will come down and Rajo Guna will start increasing, right? And then you can go on to Upasana in the form of Sandhya Vandanam or Aditya Hridaya Japam, anything, right? Shiva Manasa Puja, etc. Then the Rajasic mind will gradually become a Sattvika mind. A Sattvika mind is an unpreoccupied and receptive mind. And whether we can have such a mind or not, we can check, right? By doing 2 minutes of japa, not more than that. In those 2 minutes, If I am able to concentrate on whatever I am doing japa, that itself indicates that we have some amount of satvika mindset in us. If instead we remember all the meetings and all the problems in life during the 2 minutes, it means that we have a long way to go, right? So Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is also again very important. We saw this in Tattva Bodha, right, as one of the pre-qualifications for a spiritual journey, right? Shamaha, Damaha, Uparamaha, Titiksha, etc. Right? So, where is the question for or time for Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam? Right? If we are not able to enjoy a tranquil mind for even 1 hour to focus on the studies, right? So once the mind has got Viveka, Vairagyam and Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and at will the mind is able to displace the thoughts, right? And is able to focus on whatever the teaching is, then you have control over the mind, or you have Satvika Guna in greater proportion, right? So Lord Krishna in the 5th chapter, he said, Sparshan Kritva Bahirbahyan Chakshushchaivantare Bhuvoho Pranapanau Samau Kritva Nasabhyantara Charinau. Bahyan Sparshan Bahikritva. When you sit in meditation, can you empty your mind to the entire external world which was encroached upon, right? Whether it is children, whether it is spouse, whether it is your company, anything, try and empty all of them and then sit in meditation, right? So once I've got this mastery, then I can enter Jnana Yoga, which will help me transcend Sattva Guna and also claim that I am different from this mind and I am free from all the 3 gunas, or I am Gunatitaha. Continuing. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin Sarvadvareshu dehesmin Prakasha upajayate Prakasha upajayate Jnanam yada tada vidyat Jnanam yada tada vidyat Vivriddham sattvamityuta Vivriddham sattvamityuta. Now Lord Krishna enters the 3rd topic, which is the indicatory mark to know whether we are Sattvika, Rajasic or Tamasic. Again, this has to be used only on our own selves, right? So Lord Krishna is talking about the Sattva Linga in the 11th verse, the Rajo Linga in the 12th verse, and Tamo Linga in the 13th verse. What is the Sattva Linga? Lord Krishna says, when Sattva Guna is predominant, right? The sense organs are very, very alert, very, very receptive, and therefore capable of gaining more and more jnanam. Like sponge absorbing water, such a mind can absorb knowledge, right? So whatever you do, your concentration will be fully in it. 60 minutes without distraction. You can listen to any of these classes. That is a fantastic, kind of guna. That is the Sattva Guna, right? So the Shravanam takes place and Sattva is absolutely efficient. So Lord Krishna says, Sarvadvareshu, right? In our culture, they talk about Shatavadanam, Ashtavadanam, etc., which means 100 things they could concentrate on, 10 things they can concentrate on at the same time, etc., right? But those are all only going to cause more issues in terms of multitasking, etc., which we do in organizations today, right? So it is very important to have a mind that can focus on just this studies. So Sarvadvareshu, in all the sense organs and the mind, Asmin Dehe, in the body, Prakashaha upajayate. There is brightness of every sense organ, right? Brightness here means receptivity. And because of the brightness, Jnanam, this person is able to absorb. Yada tada vidyat. Suppose you want to learn a shloka by heart, you just see the shloka once and repeat just once. You will be able to retain it in the mind. Try this test. How many times you have to repeat the shloka before you are able to retain one shloka in mind. that can indicate to you how much your concentration power is, right? So Swamiji says there are people who can just repeat the second time, right? Without saying, right? So Jnanam means the explanation of the word Prakasha here. When knowledge also increases, Tada Vidyat, then one can understand Sattvam Vivriddham iti. Sattva guna is dominant. So when your concentration increases, your Jnanam increases, you know that Sattva guna is dominant. Continuing. लोभ प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः लोभ प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणाम शमस्पृहा कर्मणाम शमस्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ Vivriddhe Bharatarshaba. So whereas when Rajoguna is predominant, that person cannot even sit for some time quietly or read a book. You ask that person to do japa or read a book, right? In 5 minutes, you can see that that person will get up and say, oh, I have some work or I have to go get a coffee, and that person will go. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, Lobha, the mind is highly greedy to achieve more and more. Highly greedy mind, whereas Sattva Guna increases the contentment in the mind, right? So greed is the indicator of Rajoguna, therefore Lobha. And when I have got so much greed, naturally I have to work more and more. Continuous activity in general. So he has to do something or the other. That is called Pravrittihi and Karmanam Arambaha. So karma means various projects, small, big ones, right? Something or the other the person has to keep doing. But there is one difference. There can be a person who can be initially selfish and can become selfless later. He might be involved in business ventures and activities for his own benefit initially, and after that it can be more for the society. At least there the society benefits, right? The Vedantic field can benefit, the Samskrita field can benefit, or it can be some other Manushya Yajna, right? Or it can be Bhuta Yajna, any of these, right? So selfless activities also, but that is also coming under Rajasic only, right? Any form of karma. Therefore, society does require Rajasic people, especially the selfless Rajasic people, because they definitely help the society. And material progress depends upon selfless Rajasic people also all over the world, right? So all social service activities are done by selfless Rajasic people, Panchamahayajna, etc. So what Krishna wants to say is these selfless activities themselves cannot give moksha. While we do require such people and they should contribute to the society, to the nation, but what the scriptures point out is after contributing for some time, if you are aware and you are clear about your goal in life, learn to gradually withdraw, hand over to the next generation. Panchamahayajna are extremely important, but we should know when and how to come out of it. Otherwise, the problem is there will be no time for Vedanta Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, right? So people will just continuously be engaged in some activity or other. So therefore, Spriha, attachment to power, position, name, fame, etc. and Ashmaha means highly restless in the mind, highly restless between two activities when he has to wait. That waiting is very irritable, right? The person becomes irritable. The mind is highly restless and you find the person impatient, right? So such people accomplish a lot, but they are highly restless, right? So there is a lot of pain in them. So it is not bad for the society, remember that. So for one's own spiritual progress, you must know when to reduce and get out of this spiral, right? So that is very, very important. Continuing. Aprakasho pravrittischa Aprakasho pravrittischa Pramado moha eva cha Pramado moha eva cha Tamasyetani jayante. Tamasyetani jayante. Vivriddhe kuru nandana. So when tamoguna is dominant, sattva guna is suppressed. Therefore, all jnanendriyani are non-functional. Eyes are open, but they don't perceive, right? So they are generally, the jnanendriyas are very dull. This is called aprakashaha. In the case of Rajasic person also, jnanendriyanis are dull, but they are not as bad, right? They are at least in a state where the karmendriyas are active. He will not read a book, but he will be doing a lot of activity. But in the case of tamasic person, karmendriya are also dull. So neither knowing action nor doing action, both of them are suppressed, and therefore generally he is asleep or sleepy. And by chance you give him some job to do, he does a shoddy job with lot of mistakes, right? Now you must remember that no one is in these extremes. There's always a combination, right? But where are you on this scale? The mixture of the three is something that each one has to assess himself or herself, right? So pramadaha, negligence, oversight, mistakes, etc. are very common, and even simplest job that person cannot do. Moha evacha. Moha means delusion, not able to register things properly. You tell, right, a month, a day, a time, a function is there on some day, sometime. He will register it completely wrong and turn up on a wrong day, right? This is lack of concentration and registration, right? So instead of AM, he'll turn up PM. Some people you see, when you make announcements, they don't register. And then they come to the classes at the wrong time. It all happens, right? Because the mind is not fully alert, right? So, tamasmi etani jayante. When tamo guna is dominant, the pramada vritti, right? The oversight, wherever you make mistakes, etc., that becomes higher. Therefore, the person keeps on checking again and again, etc. These are all the problems of a tamoguna pradhana personality. So we have seen 3 topics, right? And here is the summary. So with this, the linga is over, right? So you have to note that these indicatory marks we should use for the assessment of self and not for assessing other people, or other Vedantic students, or somebody in your family who's attending Gita classes. We should not do that, right? We have to be very careful. And after this, Lord Krishna is going to enter the 4th topic, right? Which is going to be the Gatihi in the order, actually. So we'll stop here. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Any questions? I don't see any hands up here. Okay. So we will meet next week, same time.